All right, welcome back in. Just another football show. Talking a little Chiefs, Bills.
This is a fun one.
Yeah?
I think this is a game we all wanted to see again, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not earlier in the year, but it wasn't, the best of either of these teams, maybe, or it certainly wasn't the best of the Chiefs. So this is the game we've all been rooting for. Basically, what we all thought the AFC Championship would be again this year, right?
I did. I had to go back at my notes. This is what I had pinned in as the NFC or AFC Championship game this week.
Yeah. I keep doing that because we keep talking about it. But yeah,
It's back and forth.
it's going to be a good game. We saw the best of the Bills on
I did, in
on
fact,
Saturday.
also have Chiefs, Bills, AFC Championship.
Saw the best of the Chiefs on Sunday. We're going to get the best of the top, the 2 and the 3 seed. I keep forgetting about the Titans. Sorry, Titans.
Damn, I could get 3 of the 4 conference champion teams. Right, that's something. Yeah, so we're going to talk to Frenchie. He's our Chiefs fan, obviously. See if he can maybe calm me down here. And then I'm sure Matt will just troll the shit out of me, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's the plan.
It happens.
Troll Casey week.
Yeah.
Are you gonna even talk to Matt?
I'm undecided at this
Yeah.
point. I guess we're going to have to call him first. So
You got time to figure that out.
I don't have a lot of time to figure it out because he's going to be up first. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. Let's get him on the phone. When he answers, I'll make a decision then. I don't have to make it until like 2 seconds from now.
Yeah, get him on the blower.
All right, well, it's that time. KC's punting it my way because he refuses to intro this man based off of the matchup this weekend. But it's time to talk a little divisional round playoff action
last time.
with Bills fan Matt. Matt, how you doing after Saturday night? You all right?
I am doing fantastic. I got to be honest with you. Here's the thing: is I have learned over the years to embrace the high whenever I can get it, because golly, they've been few and far between and fleeting when they're here. So I have fully embraced the high. I let myself celebrate solidly for a full day, and now it's Chiefs week.
Yeah, so before we get into Chiefs week, did the game ever get boring for you at a certain point? Oh
No.
my God.
No.
The answer is no.
Another touchdown.
No, I could have watched that for another 10 hours. Are you kidding me? Oh, here's the thing. I would have loved it if instead of cutting to the nightly news or whatever the hell CBS cut to after the game, if they just been we're going to replay the whole game, but just with the crowd camera on the entire time, I would have watched that for 3 hours. And then we're going to just cut to the sideline cam for 3 hours. I would have watched that for another 3 hours. There was no point where I was this again. Okay, I guess we have to score another touchdown. Oops.
Darn it.
That was never, that thought never entered my mind. Because here's the thing. I am 33 years old, and I've been a Bills fan my entire life. We have never had, in the space that I can recall, because I was 5 the last time I was 4 the last time we appeared in the Super Bowl. There's never been a time where we have been this legitimately, actually good in my entire life that I am capable of remembering. And so for me, I have basically what amounts to 30 years of pent-up frustration and loss that I am finally going to get exercised like a demon in a movie. And I am going to enjoy every single second of it because nobody can take away what has actually happened on the field.
Does it feel that much better that it was the Patriots that you beat up like this, the full shellacking on Bill Belichick, who has been the Buffalo Bills boogeyman? That's a lot of B's in a row right there. But Bill Belichick, the Buffalo Bills boogeyman. Does it feel any better that it was him that got the ass whooping?
I think it feels good even if you're not a Bills fan. I think there's a good 31 teams in the league that enjoyed watching Bill Belichick take what he took on Saturday night. I have 31 teams in the league that got to sit back and really enjoy what they saw on their televisions that evening, because nobody likes the Patriots outside of actual Patriots fans, which are getting fewer and farther between every passing day since TV left. So the audience of enjoyment is getting so much smaller, and the family of us who just hate that whole franchise is getting bigger and stronger by the day.
So I enjoyed watching the ass whooping, as every Bills fan did, and like you said, all fans of all 31 other teams probably enjoyed that pretty good there. I am a little disappointed, though, however, that New England wasn't able to mount a little bit more of an offense, maybe score a few more touchdowns, because I kind of wanted to see how many dildos were in the arsenal that were going to find their way on the field aside of just the one. Just one was a little bit of a disappointment.
Here's the thing: is you have to understand. You have to understand the logistics of that from whoever was the person who brought that in and threw it out on the field. Not only do you have to put the work in to get that through security, pay the money to get a good enough seat, but they track so much that goes on inside NFL stadiums. I'm telling you, that person is banned from, that person gave up their opportunities to ever attend a Bills game again, most likely. They have cameras, they have security does a great job at NFL stadiums, tracking the people who are throwing stuff on the field. So, that person gave up a whole lot. That's why you only usually see one, because there's only one person in 70,000 who's it's worth it to never come back here if I get to throw a dildo on the field. That's why you have only one, but one was enough. One was good enough for us.
Yeah, I love the fact that New England posted the video of the touchdown onto their social media, quickly took it down, edited it to cut out the dildo part, and then put it back up. And
we all know what was there.
30 years from now, whoever the individual that threw that's going to be sitting back, talking to his grandkids about, it's one of those worth it type of a moments. Never got to go to another game, but hell, it was worth it just to get that out there on the
Maybe
field.
he never went to a game before, right?
Yeah.
Maybe this was his one only shot.
Right?
And now looking at the next game, the next man up, the matchup that we're all here to talk about is what has been a good back and forth the last year or so. This will be the third meeting in about a year time frame, and it so far split, right? About a year ago in that conference championship, it was Kansas City 38-24. Then Buffalo, when they came to town in October, they matched. They went 38, and Kansas City only put up 20. So how do you feel about this upcoming matchup now? We've seen Kansas City get a little bit better. We feel like the Bills are getting a lot better over the last few weeks. How do you feel about this matchup?
I feel good about it. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee anything. I was more than willing to guarantee some things, as you guys heard me on the pod last week. But I'm not going to sit here and guarantee. But golly, we have put ourselves in a position where there are not a great number of obvious weaknesses in this team. I think there were. I think if you go back a month and a half, our offensive line was a weak point at that time. But we got healthy. Rick Bates has been a revelation. Undrafted free agent Rick Bates holding down the left side of the line there. He's been fantastic. This is now 4 straight games where Josh Allen did not get sacked once, which is almost unheard of in today's NFL. There was only one QB hit on Saturday night. Our running game has absolutely come alive in the last few weeks as well. And our defense is playing as good as ever. I think one of the things we saw in the game this past weekend was each time there were 2 significant times where it looked like the Patriots were getting a little bit of momentum together. And that was in their first drive in the first half and their first drive in the second half. Their first drive in the first half, they're driving, they're moving, they're grooving, they're converting third downs, even long ones. And that I was a little bit concerned. We were only up 7-0. I was like, this could turn into a shootout. And Mac Jones throws smart ball, a good ball to the end zone. And usually when a quarterback throws a smart ball and a good ball into the end zone, it's a touchdown. Second, the biggest option is that it's going to be incomplete. This one was intercepted by an amazing play by Micah Hyde. And we saw the same thing in their first drive of the second half. They got some momentum. They started getting some first downs. And then after, a decent ball from Mac Jones gets broken up by Matt Milano, Levi Wallace comes up with the interception, the Bills march down again. And I think that's one of the things that gives me the most confidence is the way that this defense is able to take away your momentum even when you're in the process of building it. We saw this last night with KC as they took down the Steelers, is once they started getting a little bit of momentum with that first touch drive, all of a sudden it went from 7 to 21 points the blink of an eye. I mean, it was just too, you look at the TV, you're like, all right, 7-7. You look away for 2 seconds to stack your nachos properly. You look back, all of a sudden it's 21-7 going into the half, and the Steelers don't have a fighting chance anymore. And I think that's one of the things that the Buffalo defense is able to do. They're able to take away that momentum, even as you're in the process of building it, even if you have it established, and they're able to take it away. And I think that's one of the things that's going to serve them well this upcoming week, is that ability to, regardless of the situation, be able to take away that momentum from a team.
Yeah, and that's something that we've seen, crop up over the last few weeks. There was some concern once Trey White went down that maybe the secondary wasn't going to hold. But this Bills team still is incredible on both sides of the ball. They are the best pass defense in the game, number one, allowing about 160 yards per game.
Quietly, number one.
Quietly, right?
Yeah.
And, they had a couple shutouts in there, too, played some bad teams, so grain of salt. But when the moment has mattered, they have stood up, and they've stood tall. And I think that, you can say what you want about, okay, well, this is Mac Jones, and how much does that mean, and now you're going to play at home. So now it really is, chips on the table. No nacho pun there, but chips on the table, and we're going to see what happens. It was a little bit. I do want to get back to the nacho
Intend your puns,
thing.
Cowards. Intend your puns.
Look, it was dual purpose, okay? It was a normal phraseology.
That's what a pun is.
Yeah, but it was just not fully intended. But
you're embarrassing yourself.
Well, what's new, right? But Josh Allen has really like this was the year that everyone was talking about. Okay, Josh Allen, in the MVP conversation.
Well, even
that kind of dwindled a little
even in
bit.
October, it was if this Buffalo Bills team is going to be at this point in the postseason, they have to knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you find yourself in that exact same situation now.
Yeah, and Josh Allen has really stood up as well. He got 6 rushes here for 66. That's what we didn't see in that first matchup against the Patriots. We didn't see him running the ball a lot. But, do you think that the moment is going to be too big for Josh Allen? He's played in the conference championship. He's gone there before, but, obviously didn't win. You think Josh Allen is going to be able to stand up here?
I think that this goes back to what I talked about last week. I talked about last week how we needed to be able to manage the peaks of our season, manage, is this the highest peak that we can get to? And I think one of the things that you saw from Josh and from the team after this game is the defensive guys in their post-game press conference were still talking about how everyone was disrespecting them and they wanted to prove them wrong. Josh Allen, in his post-game press conference, was immediately just like, we need to make sure that, we are on to whoever our opponent is. This is nowhere near where we want to be. We need, we still got things we need to clean up. You had a perfect game. You threw a perfect game. And you're talking about you need to clean things up. And I think that's the difference we see in this team, where this team has been here before. This team has seen this. This team last year in the divisional round was in a neck and neck battle with the Ravens, where the Ravens were about to tie it up. And then we got, one defensive touchdown and, our defense was able to hold the rest of the way. But this team has been here. This team has done this before. This team has already exercised the demon to some extent, not to the fullest extent, but to some extent of the Chiefs when we were able to be victorious in their house earlier this season. And so I think that this team is focused now on just knowing that this can be done and knowing how it can be done. And it's just a matter of going out and doing it, because with how this team is playing on both sides of the ball, there's nobody who can stop them but themselves. And I think they put themselves in a position where they will not get in their own way.
Yeah, and that's going to be key here. I'm thinking, when I see two powerhouse offenses like this coming to a battle, it reminds me of, an arena football game where you're expecting a score on almost every drive, and it's going to come down to who can get that one key stop, that one big turnover. Kansas City has shown that Mahomes, he can make a bad throw here or there. He can, turn the ball over. They had that fumble, scoop and score last night against Pittsburgh, but they were able to, you said, manage that. They were able to overcome that, get right back to it. Can Buffalo, if they come out starting a little slow and wind up from behind of Kansas City at the beginning of the game, how do they get right back into this thing? How do they stay focused on that?
I think they take lessons, again, that they've already learned this season. Let's look back just a couple of weeks ago against the Buccaneers. They were down 24-3 at the half against the Super Bowl, the reigning Super Bowl champs. I mean, that was a game that they were down and out. I mean, that game was over. I mean, we were at the keg stand. There were a couple of us, myself included. I will not have shame for my own mistakes. Who were talking about what we were going to be doing the next week and stuff like that. Those conversations were happening at halftime, and this team said, "I do not give a rat's ass if that's Tom Brady or Terry Bradshaw over there. I don't care which TB it is on the other side. I don't care who it is on the defense. I don't care who it is on special teams. We have the ability to get ourselves back into this game regardless of who our opponent is." And they absolutely did that. We ended up losing that game, but we took them to overtime. We came back from a 21-point halftime deficit and took the reigning Super Bowl champs to overtime. And I think that was kind of the turning point of our season, especially when we fought that hard and got back to that point and we weren't able to come out victorious. I think that placed a massive chip on our shoulder. So I think if we get behind early, if we falter a little bit out of the gate, I think this team has already shown that they have the ability to look around, to look at each other, to look at themselves and say, we are better than this, or we're going to go ahead and prove it. Because, again, the only people who can stop us, the only people who can slow us down, they're wearing blue and red.
Yeah, you got to stay out of your own way in a game like this for sure. Casey will tell you that the recipe to beat the Kansas City Chiefs is to be able to run the football pretty well. Keep Mahomes.
Well, that's
on
what
the
everyone
side.
else will tell you. I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Mahomes. Well, if you had to point
It's
out,
what you hear on every talking head show ever.
On this defense, it's the ability to
Let's turn the ball over, which also is what they'll say on those talking head shows
I think
too.
the other thing,
win the turnover battle, it wins games. That's football logic. You don't really have to explain
it.
And that's absolutely what they did last time. So
the point I was getting at here
with
that was, can Buffalo commit to that? If the game's flowing the right way, can they keep committed to running the football? You've mentioned it last week. You talked about it at the top of this interview here, how they've sort of found a rhythm with that. They've maybe finally decided on a running back in Devin Singletary, who's looked very good the last month of the season. Can you come in here against Mahomes and there's that want to be explosive right out the gate? Can you commit to a run game here against Kansas City?
Let me say this. I don't know that we're going to have to, because this team has shown that this coaching staff especially has shown that they are willing to take whatever is being given to them and make that their bread and butter. Let's rewind back to last season when we played against the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. We got the ball. We were up by, I believe it was 10, and we got the ball with 7.5 minutes left. We ran out the clock. The Steelers never got the ball again. And this was last season, but same coaching staff, pretty much same players. We only ran the ball on less than 20% of those plays. We nickeled and dimed them all the way down the field. We got to second and medium, third and short, and then we got the third down. Second and medium, third short, all with our short passing game. So if that's what they decide to give us, is they decide to make sure, okay, hey, no explosive plays. They are not going to throw the ball more than 10 yards in the air. That's fine. We'll throw it 5 to Gabriel Davis, and he'll get us another 5 on the ground. We'll throw it 3 to Cole Beasley, and he'll make one guy miss. That's fine. So can we commit to the run? Yeah, if we need to. We've shown that we can do it. You have to respect that as the defense of the Chiefs. You have to be ready for that. So you can't just sell out and cover 2 shell and just wait us out, because we're going to gash you on the ground. But if you start taking away the running game because you start, beefing up the line a little bit and you start moving those safeties up, guess what? We're going to burn you over the top with Emmanuel Sanders, who just got his first playoff touchdown of his career after playing for 100 years just last week.
And then a couple Super Bowls.
If we need to, yeah, we can run the ball. But the scary part is, regardless of what you give us as an option, we're gonna have an opportunity to really take advantage of it. And that's what I think is the scariest thing about the way this team is playing right now.
Speaking of opportunity, you will have an opportunity this upcoming weekend. It'll be the third time in 364 days. So it is almost a year exactly to when you played in that conference championship game. Conference championship game. All 3 times in Arrowhead. You split them so far. So on Sunday, when the game happens, who wins the game? What's the final score, and how does it go, Matt?
Oh, that is difficult. I do think the Bills win because, again, I don't think we're going to get in our own way. I think we have shown over the last few weeks that we have a game plan that makes sense. We're able to adapt to whatever a defense is giving us, and we have the a knowledge and ability just from our own experience to be able to bounce back from any bad that does happen. I know I've counted for a 7-point win this past week. I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring because, I mean, Mahomes and that magical arm of his are going to do some work. There's nobody who can truly stop him. You can only hope to slow him down for parts of the season and parts of the game. But I don't think the Bills will have the same drop problems that the Steelers had last night. I don't think that we're going to have some of those same issues with being able to get in the way of momentum building. I think this game ends up being a little bit closer. I'm going to say 38-31 Bills.
All right, and that would be the third time in a row that someone had scored 38.
Weird.
Yeah.
Look at him go. All right, Matt.
Yeah.
We appreciate you hanging out with us. I sincerely hope we're not talking to you next week, but I feel like we will be.
I'll be listening for your picks, Casey. I know they're going to be wonderful. I know that they're just going to be.
Hey, man,
they're going to be wonderful.
If
wonderful
you listen to our
picks
preseason predictions,
from your heart, and you're not going to let your own personal biases get in the way because you would never do that.
Nope. No,
You're
I'm
an upstanding podcast host.
Exactly. I really appreciate
broadcast
that. And
journalists here.
if you go back and listen to our preseason predictions, I picked the Bills to make the Super Bowl. So
hey,
see how
don't
it
run
goes.
away from that now.
Trust, sir. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We appreciate you hanging out, man. We'll see if we're talking to you next week. This should be a good one.
All right, that sounds good. Y'all sounds good day.
You too.
Thanks, Matt.
Bye.
All right. So now got to bring back on Frenchie. Last time he was here, you guys weren't. We had to do this. The time schedule was weird. It was just me and him. So maybe you guys will have some more questions for him.
So it was probably boring.
I'm just kind of hoping maybe he can talk me down from the concern level that I'm at right now going into this game.
Oh, okay.
Frenchie, how's it going, buddy?
It's a lot better after that win on Sunday.
Correct,
I had
sir.
a lot of people message and be like, how you feeling after the first quarter? I'm like, it's the first quarter. It's the Steelers. I'm not that worried.
Not like a little bit, not even a little bit worried.
No, like even after the stupid score for TJ Watt, I'm like, Mahomes is going to get the ball back and take him down and score again. And then proceeded to score 2 more touchdowns before halftime. It was like, yep, this game is over.
Yeah, I believe it was our Bills fan that mentioned you blinked and that game all of a sudden Chiefs were up 21-0 in a heartbeat. So, it's a fun one. I'm not sure how I feel watching almost every team piss pound whoever they played this weekend. Really doesn't help you get a feel for how these teams are coming into a head-to-head matchup. Obviously, playoff Pat is back in full strength and full form. But Buffalo looked very good as well. Unfortunately, I don't think Buffalo's quite a Steelers team where if you come out here early and Mahomes throws one of those errant interceptions early or there's a fumble and a scoop and score, how do you sort of just continue to rally that against a team like Buffalo?
Well, the nice thing is that Buffalo's defense is not the same as it was a year ago without Stephon Gilmore. Or not Stephon Gilmore, sorry. Without Tre'Davious White.
Yeah.
Back there. Wrong defensive player of the year candidate. But Tre'Davious White, with him on the back end of that defense, it adds a lot more intrigue and stuff you have to game plan against when you've got a receiver core like the Chiefs. And losing him, I think, was one of the biggest blows for any team's championship hope. Like, of any player that's not a quarterback or your star offensive player, losing White, I think, is a huge blow to them, and I think could end up being a big factor in this game, especially now that the Chiefs have their offense kind of rolling again, which we did not see back early in the season when these two teams matched up before.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you about. Was I like to go back and look at this, sort of skim these box scores when we're going seeing teams that have played once already. And this obviously, if we all remember back, was the weather game, the big delay, right? The two teams sat in the locker room, right? That was this one, right?
Sure.
If you say so, man.
Sounds
right.
Now I'm doubting it, but I think it was. Either way, Chiefs turned the ball over like 4 times in this game. That's not helpful.
That was in that weird bad Mahomes stuff.
Yeah, 2 interceptions and a
What was that
fumble
all
just
about?
on Mahomes. Pringle had a fumble. So I don't want to say throw it away, but it was in that point in time, like you pointed out, where the Chiefs weren't exactly rolling. I don't necessarily want to say that they are like full steam ahead right now either, but this team's played a lot better recently. Any takeaways from the game earlier in the season that you would sort of push onto this one?
Well, I've had this conversation with a couple of people at work of, oh, the Bills came out and blew the Chiefs out last time, even in Arrowhead. Here's the big problem, though. You look back, that was a one-score game for a considerable amount of time until a pass went through a receiver's hands and was picked off and taken in for a pick six. A turnover is like, oh, Mahomes made about. No, it literally bounced off the receiver's hands. They catch that ball, and I think at that point it was like an 8-point game. The Chiefs could have gone down, scored it, potentially tied it, or at least made it like a 1-point game. And we've got a much different contest down the stretch instead of having to play from 2 scores back. And I think now that we've seen Jerick McKinnon, I think is going to be a big part of this game. We saw a great performance from him, probably the best game we've seen from him since he was in Minnesota, potentially. I think he had 1 or 2 good games with the Niners, but
He only
play one or
he only
two
played 1 or 2 games with the Niners,
Yeah.
I think.
yeah, they were solid.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, we saw Jerick McKinnon, right, and we saw a little bit of Darrell Williams, but I think he's still banged up. No CEH in that game. What's the running game look like? Because I know that the kind of fixing of the Chiefs' offense when it was off the rails for a while came on the back of the running backs, all sorts of them, including Gore and everything like that. So what's the running game going to look like when these two teams play?
Well, as far as I know, Clyde has not been cleared for this week, so I think you're going to see another steady dose of Jerick McKinnon and Darrell Williams. I would like to see Gore get some more touches. He did not play in that Week 5 game back in October, so I think he'll add a different dynamic to this performance as well. And I think one of the things we saw last time that the Chiefs will have again is Mecole Hardman had a really good game against Buffalo. 9 catches for almost 80 yards. It's one of the better performances he had yard and catch-wise on the season. And I think that you're going to see that again here where guys are going to step up on the outside. You're going to see Hardman and Pringle, I think, really have good games in this one as, Kelsey's going to work the middle of the field and they're going to try and take the deep ball away from Tyreek Hill like teams have been trying to do all season. But when these guys on the fringes are really stepping up, I think that's where this team is going to find a lot of impact. I think the run game will have some success, but that's a good front seven for Buffalo that we've seen from them all season long, even back into last year when they made all the way to the AFC Championship. It was a front seven that really did a lot of great stuff for them. And then obviously you got guys like Poyer and Hyde in the defensive backfield that are going to try and take that deep look away. So I think it's really going to have to come up, not just obviously the run game having a strong performance, but I really think you're going to see Hardman get some opportunities as well as Byron Pringle, who I have been so excited to see make some big plays this year. And a guy that I think a lot of people forget about is Demarcus Robinson. This is a guy that can go off for 100 yards every now and then, and I think you could see him step up and get a couple opportunities in big moments.
Yeah, it's like you said, with the way that this Buffalo Bills defense is built, and it's quietly sort of sneaky pretty good. They had some shutouts here and there that sort of helped platform them this to maybe skew their stats the way they are and the way they line up. But sort of under the radar good defense is going to look to, like you said, take away the Tyreek Hills, take away the Travis Kelce, sure up the middle of that. So it's going to come down to those guys on the sides really stepping up big. You mentioned a number of players who every now and then you hear, oh, they had a great game.
Yeah.
If you own Tyreek Hill in fantasy, you'll look at stats and he'll have one good week and then a couple other weeks you're like, well, what the hell happened to him? And then you see everyone else on the roster sort of popped off. So you could see that coming into here. Mahomes is, like I said, playoff pat. There's really no worry for me with him coming into this football game. Even if he does throw an interception, make a mistake, I don't see this being a situation where it compiles upon itself. Previous in the year, asked about this team's hopes after the game Monday night or Sunday night against the Steelers. It was very obvious this team has one thing and one thing only on their mind, and that's the
Chocolate
Super Bowl.
cake.
Chocolate cake, yes. You want a
Oh
piece
my
of
God.
that cake?
The Andy
Yeah.
Reid quote, so great.
Yeah.
So good.
So
That
great.
is
I love
the
that
most
quote.
Andy Reid thing I've ever
He's
heard.
like, is he just like he's a parody of himself at this point?
I always
right?
tell people like let's not make fun of Andy too much, and then he says something like this. It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, he just leans into it.
This dude
Yeah.
really is
Yeah.
just thinking about food all the time. That's fine. I'm always thinking about food too. So.
Yeah. Now I know they're going to be focused, but is that sort of they want to take it one game at a time? But are they already coming in here too focused on long term as opposed to short term? Because you can't not come into this game prepared.
I mean, I think, obviously the overall goal is to win a Super Bowl. I don't think the Chiefs are ever going to be that Super Bowl or bust team because of the fact that if you look at this roster, there's still a lot of really young players on this team. It's crazy to think that Patrick Mahomes is only 26 years old and has already played in 2 Super Bowls. But I think that this team is still the mix of the young kids and the veterans, to the point that you've got guys that have been there before, have gone through this process now 3 years in a row of playing in the AFC Championship and 2 Super Bowls, that they know that no playoff game is a given. And, they've had to fight their asses off in the playoffs the last couple of years. And that AFC Championship win over Buffalo last year means nothing this year. But on the other side, I think you're going to see Buffalo have a lot to play for, because that loss is going to mean something to them, especially Stephon Diggs. When we saw him last year standing out on the field during the AFC Championship celebration, and him just waiting there looking on, and he wants that possibly more than anyone that's going to be on that field on Sunday evening.
Yeah, and I think that he's kind of driven by that, right? And so that's something to worry about. Kansas City's defense has stepped up, right? We've seen some other guys step up and get some good pressure, and the acquisition of Melvin Ingram has helped on the defensive line. But I think the defense of Kansas City is kind of underrated for as good as they've been recently. Do you think that the Kansas City D has what it takes to step up against a Buffalo team that scored 6 drives in a row, all touchdowns, and then just kneeled it out with Mitch Trubisky last week? So, Buffalo coming off of a couple of ass whoopings delivered in a row. How do you think Kansas City D is going to be able to stand up to Josh Allen and all the weapons he has?
I think the biggest person you're going to have to see step up here is going to be the rookie Nick Bolton. Obviously, you're going to have L'Jarius Sneed and Tyrann Mathieu in the defensive secondary. If Daniel Sorensen plays any big minutes, I might cry. He'll randomly make a big tackle, or he'll intercept the ball and make me eat my words. But he'll probably have the game-saving play that ends up winning them the game. But I'll be happy to be wrong next week on that. But I think Nick Bolton, he's going to be a guy that I think they are going to use him to stop up front in the rushing attack. Devin Singletary had 2 touchdowns against New England this past weekend, but I don't think he's going to have nearly as big of a game. And if you can find a way to use him as a little bit as a quarterback spy against Josh Allen, he's a guy that we saw in that Tennessee Titans game. Even the fact that Derrick Henry is 6'3", 260 pounds, Bolton was meeting him head to head and winning that matchup a lot. So I think you're going to see him kind of be that guy that might drop in pass coverage a little bit, but he's going to have his eyes on the quarterback and try and take away that run game for Josh Allen. And if the defense, that secondary, can make some plays here and there, and they have to try and be a dual threat team, I think the Chiefs will have a great opportunity, because as we know, Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, not the best running back duo in the league.
It's gotten better, but not the best.
Not
duo.
world beaters, no.
But you got Josh Allen, so it's kind of like the 3-headed monster back there. And you mentioned that you might have to come up to just 1 or 2 key moments. I've likened this game to an arena football game with the high-powered offenses. It's going to come down to whoever can get that one key stop at any moment might be all it takes.
Key stop, key turnover.
Yeah, key stop, key turnover. Who outside of the players you've listed is really going to be that sort of unnamed player that steps up here and sort of delivers a big punch and has a huge impact unpredictably in this football game?
Well, I think the guy that goes under the radar a lot with this Chiefs team, not because of his salary for any stretch of the imagination, but because of just all the playmakers, I'm looking at Frank Clark. We've talked all season about the addition of Melvin Ingram. Chris Jones is still a monster up front. Still think he got robbed of first-team All-Pro. He's a guy that, his impact goes beyond the stat sheet. But Frank Clark has to get penetration on that right side of the line, whether they play him on the left side or the right side opposite of either Alex Okafor or Melvin Ingram. He's getting paid $20+ million a year. They need him to step up and make a big play in this matchup, especially if he can get a strip sack or at least force Allen into a couple bad throws here and there. He doesn't even necessarily have to, have the strips or the strip sacks or the sacks in general. But if he can get the quarterback hits, make life a living hell on Josh Allen on Sunday, I think it's going to help this defense a lot because, then you are going to not have to worry as much in that secondary with guys like Stephon Diggs and Emmanuel Sanders back there. You've got to get after the quarterback and make life uncomfortable. Not even necessarily hell on Josh Allen, but if you make it uncomfortable, this is a guy that he's still only really, in his fourth playoff start and hasn't had the best games in the playoffs outside of last week. So they need to try and force him into some mistakes on Sunday if they want a shot at winning this game.
Yeah, and take away some of his escape routes too, because we know that when he gets moving, he's a threat with his legs to run, sure, but he can stand. He's like a more athletic Big Ben, right? He can kind of stand in the pocket, can move around in there a little bit, can roll out to his left or his right.
To be fair, any guy that's 6'5" is a more athletic
That's true.
Big Ben at this point.
That's true. There's
in his prime, a more athletic Big Ben.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we know Josh Allen is a goofy guy, but he's very athletic too. And I think take away some of those escape routes. Don't necessarily over pursue in the pocket, right? We see teams
contain more so than.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to come down to because we know and we trust the Kansas City offense, right? We as of late trust them to run the ball. I think Casey's probably cringing over there. I can't really see, but trust the offense more now than we have earlier in the season. But it's going to come down to how the defense plays, right? Because these are two of the top scoring offenses in the league. The biggest discrepancies are kind of in their defensive production, and even those are still pretty darn close. So, Frenchie, you know how we do this here. Taking a look at the game, taking a look at how it goes. This will be the third matchup in 364 days. The third matchup in Kansas City between these two teams in roughly a year. How does this one shake out on Sunday? What's the final score? Give me a little idea of game flow.
So I think you're going to see these offenses kind of feel each other out for a little bit. I think it's going to be a little bit low scoring first half. I think you maybe see a 10-7 lead at halftime either way. I can't really tell you who's going to get the extra field goal. It could be even just a last-second field goal going into half. I really think we're going to see a low-scoring game as these defenses really, hold strong coming off big performances in their previous game. But I think the second half is where you're going to see these offenses come alive. These, Eric Bieniemy is going to start figuring some stuff out. I can never remember the freaking offensive coordinator in Buffalo. I know he's got some looks for head coach. And, this is a great opportunity for him. He's going against the two-time defending AFC champions. He and Leslie Frazier are going to have excellent opportunity. They're going to throw everything at their opponent. And I think really the winner of this game is, in my opinion, the favorite to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. And I know that Cincinnati and Buffalo and Tennessee have had great seasons, but I think it's win or bust for these two teams. This is the AFC championship matchup that everyone expected coming into the season. So I think we're going to look at an interesting game here. And I think in the second half, these offenses are going to start to come alive. But I do think the defenses are going to make enough plays that I don't know if either team is actually going to get over 30. My final score is 28-24. Chiefs the Chiefs defense does enough to get the plays when they need them. And I said, I don't know how Daniel Sorensen will get beaten 3 times in the game, but he'll randomly come up with the pick with 4 seconds left to clinch the win for Kansas City. Something stupid like that will always happen.
Yep.
We saw it against Denver. We saw it against Cleveland. This always happens to Kansas City, that it's the bend, don't break defense, and they make a play when they need to.
I looked up some of the advanced stats here, and if you want to save a little bit of time on Sunday, the team who has won the coin toss in each of the last 2 matchups has got on to win the game. So the game could be over before it even starts based on analytics and statistics.
Ugh, you're the worst.
When you threw your finger back up there with another
yeah,
point
I thought he actually
after
had
ready
a point.
to pitch it, I knew it was something
just
stupid.
not let it go.
I'm just saying that stats is stats, right?
Good-
That's not a coincidence.
And Andy Reid doesn't lose coin tosses very often.
A good producer would cut this out.
Well,
you
That's what it is.
you're the producer.
You got to remember, this is not the Raiders, so the coin doesn't mean shit anymore.
Well. All right, Frenchie, we appreciate you taking some time to chat with us tonight. We hope. Well, I hope.
You hope.
To be talking to you next week.
Oh, we will. Don't worry.
Feel better about it. All right, sir. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Maybe I don't know. I don't think I feel any better, but I don't have to pick the game till Friday, so I guess there's that.
I do like his point that
Kayfabe.
the team that wins this game is likely the team to go to the Super Bowl. Now that maybe
I would be
but
interested.
that's what it
I'll be
feels
interested
like.
to see.
That's what
I'd be
it feels like. Right
I would
now.
be interested to see and we'll have some conversations about this on the on the actual podcast episodes this week. Make sure you guys are checking those out too if you missed them, because we'll have a little extra time to talk with less games and stuff like that. So there'll be some things there. I did want to point out I was correct. I had to go back and look. This halftime started 62 minutes late. It was the infamous peanut butter and jelly sandwich game, if you guys recall.
Oh yeah.
So storms and lightning kept
Well,
kept
I looked
them
at
from
the
coming out
weather,
at half.
and like the kickoff weather was perfectly fine, right? It was like
Yep.
74 and sunny.
Yeah.
Yep. By halftime, it was not. This game was the second half was delayed by 62 minutes.
There you go.
So long time in the old locker rooms for this game too. So something a little abnormal.
I think this is a premier matchup of our fans too, right? Frenchie and Matt have done this probably more than anyone, right?
I mean, they got to be right up there. There are a
the way
handful of
the
other
years have
guys
been going,
that
so.
we've talked to a lot of times, but yeah, you are absolutely correct. All right, well, we'll be back for some other videos, or I guess this is probably the last one timeline wise. But if you missed any of them, go back, check them out. They're all out there. Talk to fans of all the teams. So if you're done with those, pull up the podcast, give it a listen. That's what we're trying to do here is get you to listen to the podcast.
We appreciate you listening.
Exactly. All right. So, until the next time you listen to us, which hopefully is very, very soon, this has been just another football show.
Bye.
See ya.
That's one.